Naz, did I pronounce that correctly?
That's fine. That's perfect.
I practiced a lot.
New American version of his last name.
Oh my God, who has done that horrible work for you? And he's like, wow, that's you. I mean,
Oh, well, the Canadian healthcare is amazing. I talked to my Canadian friends. They're like, it is fucking terrible. No.
Because they are not Americans. Ask them, would you change to the American model? Oh, no. It's not that bad. Okay.
Can I consider my wife as a celebrity?
Yeah.
In your house,
We persuade people to think that, oh, you're going to look better, you're going to feel better, you're going to be healthier. And that is bullshit.
So if people start posting tomorrow that black teeth are fashionable, then the next time I want to have black veneers.
or is this the grown-up Daddy Nas version?
If I say that I always thought like this, it will not be the truth. How much did you charge your patient? And I was like, $15,000. He was like, what? For that money, I wouldn't even do a hygiene for that person.
What?
So
You got a crooked smile, well that don't bother me much. You double over working double time, you double tough. I'll just shine it up until the sun hit like a glare. I gotta dare, get the fuck up out the chair.
Today's guest is Nazariy Mykhaylyuk, a leader in microscopic dentistry who specializes in precise restorative work. Based in Ukraine, Naz works alongside his father at their family clinic, Oral Design, Ukraine. Known for his exceptional work and innovative approach, Dr. Naz redefines modern dentistry, one tiny detail at a time. In this episode, we'll break down how, contrary to what many dentists think, digital dentistry can deliver stunning, precise, and highly functional results that are often better than old-school impressions. You'll learn why open communication and crystal clear patient onboarding builds trust and helps patients understand their choices when pursuing the highest quality care. Finally, we'll dive into how AI and virtual reality can help dentists make sharper diagnoses and expand your potential to work remotely from your clinic. Get ready to dive into the fascinating world of microscopic dentistry with one of the leading modern dentists in the world.
Tired of bouncing between ClinChecks, refinements, and Invisalign bills? Serving patients is what you do best. Leave the back and forth to us. With TwoFront, you get to unwind, fully automate your Invisalign practice, and watch your patients receive the highest level of care without losing any control. From closing your patients to designing ClinChecks, managing insurance and compliance, your TwoFront team does it all. Think of it as a splash of simplicity. Use one simple platform to have full visibility of your patients in treatment. Dentists and orthodontists across 150 practices have jumped in, seeing their Invisalign production soar without adding any extra chair time. TwoFront members have seen a 350% increase in production, adding over $100,000 in profit to their bottom line. Whether you're on the court or in the office, TwoFront helps you ace your goals. See how TwoFront can transform your practice. Visit mytwofront.com/Ingrid to book your demo and dive in today.
Welcome back to The Happy Dentist. Today we have our good friend, Naz Mykhaylyuk. Naz, did I pronounce that correctly?
that's fine. That's perfect.
I practiced a lot.
That's his new American version of his last name. And he's going to live in US, so he needs to get used to it.
Mykhaylyuk, that's perfect. Christian, you obviously know Naz best. So why don't you give him a quick introduction?
Okay, everybody, we have a very special guest today. What I can say here is that Naz is probably one of the best dentists I know. Now, I know a lot of dentists, and I know dentistry pretty well. And I've been a technician working with some of the best dentists in the world. So when I hope people can understand my point here when I say he is one of the best dentists I know.
Wow.
I met Naz 14 years ago. He came to do all my initial DSD courses when DSD was just starting. He still looks the same, by the way. He still looks like he's 22, even though he's not anymore 22. And he's like he just had a baby, and he is from Ukraine. So I don't need to say anything else about this because you can imagine what he went through, and maybe he can cover some of these topics during the interview here of the stress and nightmare and everything that he went through for the last 2-3 years because of the mess there. But he's always positive. He's an amazing teacher. He became an amazing teacher, and he is one of the best experts on digital dentistry. And the reason why is because he does it every single day. Everything he shows on his lecture is what he does clinically. So many things that people show once in a while to show off, he is showing because he does it every day. And we're going to talk about that as well. So it's a pleasure for me to have him here. And I'm a fan. He has amazing following on Instagram. He's amazing on Instagram, on social media. If you're not following him, you should. And I want to start with a very simple question that is very close to both of us. Naz, what do you think is the biggest misconception related to digital dentistry today?
First of all, I want to thank you for kind words and just want to say really quickly that actually you were one of my first teachers who showed me how properly organize my photo video studio and properly communicate with the patient. So thanks a lot for that, because for me it was right on time, because it was the beginning of my career and you showed me the right direction from the beginning. Speaking about your question about digital dentistry, I want to say that as always, when something new appears on the market, people really question it. Even today, people still don't believe that digital dentistry can be aesthetic, precise, and functional. And we can say that they can be 100% sure that nowadays we have enough tools, enough proper techniques and knowledge to accomplish all types of clinical work in digital dentistry and receive very good results.
Tired of bouncing between ClinChecks, refinements, and Invisalign bills? Serving patients is what you do best. Leave the back and forth to us. With TwoFront, you get to unwind, fully automate your Invisalign practice, and watch your patients receive the highest level of care without losing any control. From closing your patients to designing ClinChecks, managing insurance and compliance, your TwoFront team does it all. Think of it as a splash of simplicity. Use one simple platform to have full visibility of your patients in treatment. Dentists and orthodontists across 150 practices have jumped in, seeing their Invisalign production soar without adding any extra chair time. TwoFront members have seen a 350% increase in production, adding over $100,000 in profit to their bottom line. Whether you're on the court or in the office, TwoFront helps you ace your goals. See how TwoFront can transform your practice. Visit mytwofront.com/Ingrid to book your demo and dive in today.
And what do you think are the biggest mistakes that dentists are doing today that they could do better by using digital?
The biggest mistakes is that they think that with analog, they can get much better results. I mean, with layering techniques and, taking impressions and, using the analog workflow. And because in the past, most of the people, they were imagining that digital dentistry can be only good for the posterior teeth, like onlays, overlays, some posterior crowns, and that this is like cheap dentistry. Let's name the things, the real names, what dentists are speaking around the world. So today we can say that it's not true, that with the digital dentistry, we can actually accomplish beautiful cases that look in many times, quite often, much better than the analog. I'm not saying that analog is not good. I'm just saying that the possibilities of digital nowadays are much better than in the past. And this is something that they need to understand. Plus, the digital workflow allows to eliminate many steps that we have in the analog workflow. And more steps we have, more possibilities for mistakes we have as well. And so in this way, we can eliminate those steps and improve the quality.
Naz, let me ask you this, because I know you own a lab. I'm the clinical director of a lab as well. And I see a lot of big mistakes, or I guess I see a lot of dentists assuming that a digital impression or a digital scan should use the same technique as a traditional scan, or actually, no, that's the opposite. They think, and it's crazy. I have a lot of dentists that say, oh, I didn't know I had to pet cord with digital. And usually how this conversation happens is they're complaining that the case needs a remake. We didn't guess the margin correctly. I usually bring up the case in like a black and white or a gray color scale, because they'll say, well, you can see the margin completely. And then you show it in a gray scale and you can see it's just nothing. You can't see any margin at all. They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. And I honestly have had so many dentists say, I didn't think I had to pet cord with digital anymore. And I think a big misconception is that the scan is going to flow into the sulcus like how traditional impression material is. And I want to know if you get the same feedback.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think the biggest problem in this is that dentists quite often invest in the digital technology, but they do not invest in education how to use the digital technology. So what happens? They buy something. It's like, you buy a car, but you don't know how to drive a car. And then you crash it, and then you say that car was not good.
Yes.
So that's a very similar thing when they buy a scanner, or they think they become a digital dentist because they just bought a scanner. But it's a big change in the whole protocol. So they need to understand how to use it right, because always when you're switching to something new, to the new technology, your quality first drops. And then you need this learning curve to get back on track, and then even more time to even improve more the quality of your work. So I think it is super important that when people buy something like digital technology, they need to go ahead and learn how to use it, because otherwise they will be super disappointed. Then you said that they do the scan and they don't see the margin, and they think that there is a margin, but actually there is no margin. The thing is that usually if you don't know something, you don't see that it's wrong, because eyes don't see what mind doesn't know.
Yeah, there's a nice quote by Frank Spear that you guys have probably heard before, and he says, "You can only treatment plan what you see, and you only see what you know." And I love that quote.
That's correct. It's like I'm always saying, you can prep a tooth in a good way only in case when you know all the possible mistakes you can do during the preparation. So once you are avoiding those mistakes, then automatically you're getting a very good preparation. So the same thing is about the scan. If you know that, for example, if you don't put a cord, you will not see the zone of the sulcus, then you understand that that's going to be a problem. If you know that, for example, you have a big papilla and then you need maybe to use electrosurge to remove it, to make sure that the scanner sees the sulcus, then this problem can happen. So you remove that part of the papilla. So once you already had those issues in the past, then each following case, you will pay attention at these details. But again, to make a shortcut, not to do those mistakes, the easiest way is just to go ahead, visit a course where people tell you, look, pay attention on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then also what's, of course, us as dentists, we don't really love it. It's called sharing responsibility. Okay. Because in analog, what we all, because I'm also a dentist and my father is a dental technician, what I would do, I would take the impression, send to my father and say, make magic. Okay, make magic. You're talented. Good luck. Okay, please A1 and beautiful. Okay. In digital dentistry, it's different. In digital dentistry, dentists need to know much more about the materials. They need to know about the optics of materials, because quite often we need to mix different types of materials in the patient's mouth. And dental technicians, they have no clue how this material look inside of the patient's mouth. They need a feedback from a dentist to explain, because let's say we are mixing Empress, Emax, and zirconium. We're going to use 3 materials that have completely different value. And if you choose BL3 for each one of them and you put them together, it's going to be a mess. So you have to choose one material that is brighter, another one that is darker, and only in that case, you know how they match together. But again, this is why dentists, they need to take more responsibility. And I think we were talking about this topic about the lab and the issues that we all have in our labs, and including your lab as well. We also have a lab, so we ask the dentist, please go ahead and mark the margin yourself. So then if there are any questions about the precisions, the one that you can blame is the person in the mirror.
You put it back on them, and that just has to do with communication. Let's go back a little bit, Naz. How did you get started in dentistry? I know your dad was kind of famous, so why don't you explain how you got started?
That's quite an interesting story. I will try to make it short, not to take so much time off a podcast. My father, when in his 30s, he was actually trying different jobs. I mean, my family was not living really rich or something like this. It was below average, I would say. And my father was always a great artist. So when I was in school, he was always drawing me pictures. If they told us, please draw autumn or summer or whatever, he was always doing these drawings for me. So he was very artistic. And if I'm not mistaken, when he turned 36, he saw the announcement that they opened the faculty for dental technicians in our city on the west of Ukraine. And he was like, okay, I want to try. So he actually got into this faculty, and this is how his journey started as a dental technician. So first he was working in the government hospital, that was not too successful. Then he started working in his own place by himself. Then the team started to increase. My father was working so much that when my time came to choose the university, I never thought who I'm gonna become but dentist. Because already from those days, I felt responsibility that if my father is trying to grow something, I need to help him with this. So I decided to go ahead to the university to start learning dentistry. And on my fourth year, I was already seeing some patients. I was lucky because my parents, they actually opened a clinic before I graduated. So we had some hired dentists over there. So I could come and assist and, start learning faster, not waiting for the graduation. Also in 2008, I also got a camera. So I started taking pictures of everything. So it was very difficult, at least for me those days, to understand which lens you need to use, which flashes, what are the settings. It's nowadays that you can, Google everything, you go to YouTube and information is like this, okay? So I started to take my first pictures, and in Ukraine, we had a dental forum. So those days we were not using Facebook yet, okay? And everybody was discussing cases on that dental forum, and I was posting my stuff. So in July 2010, I passed my last exam. And in September 2010, I received a call from one of the dentists. And he said, Dr. Nazariy, listen, I saw your cases that you posted. I would like to come for your course. I remember I started laughing because what course? I graduated 2 months ago. I'm basically still a student. What are you talking about? And he said, I don't care how old you are. I just want to come and just show me how you do the things that you were posting, like in your cases. And I said, please give me at least 3 months to put some PowerPoint together. So December 1 and 2, 2010, I organized this individual course for him. And it was quite nice. And I thought, okay, I have this little PowerPoint. Why don't I try to maybe share with some other people? Maybe somebody else is interested. So I posted information on this dental forum. And during the week, I got more than 80 people registered for my courses. And I was shocked because my life completely turned upside down, because every single weekend, I would have 4 people coming to my courses. So basically, my story with teaching started not because I thought I'm very smart to teach the others. It's just because people came to me and they asked me if I can organize something like this for them. So the first year, so half of 2010 and half of 2011, I was doing mostly courses in Ukraine, and I was teaching about preparation with microscope because that was something new on the market. Nobody was showing that and everybody was interested. And then one day I woke up and I thought, wait, if this approach is interesting for people in Ukraine, maybe it can be also interesting for people around the world. So I go ahead, I register on Facebook, and I start sharing my clinical results, video information on Facebook. And at that moment, honestly saying, nobody was really showing stuff like through the microscope. There was like completely blue ocean on the Facebook. And I started to receive my first invitations, first like Poland, Romania, so countries nearby. And then the snowball started to increase. And if you give a good lecture, if you give a good course, organizers usually invite you one more time. At the same time, I realized that I don't know a lot yet. Of course, because my experience was just like this, And that's why in 2011, I decided to invest all my money that I have in education. So I went to Christian's course. I went to 4 modules from Mauro Fardani and the other guys that we all know. So I tried to visit not too many courses, but the ones that are really useful. And when I went to the course, I would always sit on the front row and listen very carefully, because for me, those days, I'll be honest with you, those were expensive courses. And I was joking that if I needed to go to the restroom, I would go really fast, because every minute was very precious, And this is how I collected information, like from Christian, from Mauro, from Masironi, and from the other guys. Everybody had his super strong sides. And of course, then in the end of the story, you're creating your protocol by combining this useful information from these great people.
Naz, I mentioned that you are a master on digital, but as you became a reference on magnification in dentistry, utilizing microscope to work, we know that this is a topic that has been around for a while. Most of the people lecturing about it don't actually use it daily. They use it once in a while. Microscope companies, they kind of sponsor some speakers and they do a few cases just to have some content. I know very few dentists that are really living this daily, that really transform their practice around the microscope. So can you tell us a little bit of the history behind, when did you start it? Why did you decided to do magnification? How hard it was the beginning? Did you started using a little bit just for lecturing cases, and how it became your only way of working?
Yeah, that's a really nice question. So back in 2008, I bought the book from Domenico Mascheroni, and I opened the book, and the first time I saw such a huge magnification, pictures, very good precision. I mean, I was like, wow. And the first what I thought was like, okay, but this doctor, like he was not born such a high quality specialist. I mean, he became these levels. So I was like, okay, I have 2 legs, 2 hands, I have my head on my neck, and why don't I try doing something similar? I mean, I'm young, all life ahead. So we got our microscope in the clinic, if I'm not mistaken, in 2010. So officially, I was working as a dentist without microscope like half a year. And then I started working with the microscope, and it became first for endodontics, to be honest, because everybody was getting microscope to do endo. But then once I tried it, I mean, that's difficult when you do an endo and you see everything perfectly, and then you put it to the side, and then the tooth looks like this, and whatever you do looks beautiful just because you don't see the details. And from that time, I actually started using it for everything, for a few reasons. From one side, of course, to provide a better quality treatment for a patient, better precision. On another side, actually for myself, because I can actually last longer as a specialist. I mean, I can work longer. I feel more comfortable because I have a really good ergonomics of cooperation with the assistants. So it's a great mix and just benefits both for the patient and also for dentist. And by the way, nowadays I have 2 clinics, and it's a standard for all of the doctors. I have 3 rooms in one clinic and 3 rooms in another clinic. So all of the doctors are using microscope. It's like a must-have. We're not even positioning this as something special, something unique. It's just a part of our daily work. So our periodontist, our restorative dentist, our endodontist, surgeon, and me in prosto, just orthodontist who is not using microscope, he doesn't need it. So all of the other guys, everybody is using magnification. Plus, as you mentioned about lecturing, if you are guys, or anyone who is listening right now to the podcast is interested in lecturing, microscope gives a great possibility to document everything without any problem. You don't need to buy those fancy cameras, invest tons of money, because right now, let's say I have on my microscope 8K camera, Canon, and I don't even think about recording process. I just do my work and everything is recorded, and then I edit it, and I have beautiful information for dentists, and they see the video the way how I see when I'm working with a patient.
Naz, you've always been on the forefront of technology. And I wanted to ask you on the same line. You started off with photography before Instagram was even around, then digital dentistry, microscopes. But something that we haven't talked about is your use of AI in dentistry, which I think you're the only dentist I've met that is using AI in dentistry. So I wanted to ask you, what is the most powerful way that you're using virtual reality and AI in your practice that you think all modern dentists should be using?
First of all, I think in this podcast, a really person who you should ask about AI is on my right side right here. His name is Kyle Stanley.
Okay.
By the way, I want to say congratulations to Kyle with his project. Very successful, amazing. Just, applause. Great job.
Thank you, Naz.
So it's like me comparing to Kyle. I'm just starting probably using the AI. And speaking about the virtual reality, this is something that life made me to learn how to use it. And to be honest, I didn't think that possibilities like this exist. So I'll be more precise what I'm doing right now with the virtual reality, because I'm out of Ukraine, and that was not really planned. I mean, I was not planning to leave the Ukraine, because in that case, you are preparing your office to function without you. But in my case, it happened very fast and not planned. So I'm still seeing patients, but I'm seeing them in a different way. So I'm using quite often Vision Pro from Apple. So in that case, every time when my prosthodontist in the office is seeing the patient the first time, so he's using the following devices. He's using the Ray Face for facial scanning. He's using the intraoral scanner, and he's using Mojo. And all of the computers that are connected to these devices, they always turn on the team viewer on those computers. So at the same time, I can use the Vision Pro, so I can open all of the windows, and also I can connect to the video cameras in the office, because I have in the room 2 video cameras. So basically, I'm like present in the room during the consulting and during the diagnostics. And let's say when they are doing the records with records of the mandible movements, I can right away analyze if everything is done correctly. And I can check right away the lateral intrusion, the condylar slope angle, and all the data. And my assistant has one headphone and my doctor has another headphone. And we're also on the FaceTime. So basically, I'm commenting right away, okay, this is good, or maybe you need to redo this procedure or something like this. Now, what we are also doing, we start to organize the virtual consulting because Vision Pro allows me and my patient, when we put on the Vision Pro, we can actually stay like in one room and I'm able to show all the information on the huge screen in a 3D. So it's not anymore the 2D communication on the flat screen. And it's very simple. So, I mean, you don't need to do any huge investments. It's just understanding how you can adopt technology that is not actually dental, completely not dental, but how you can take it and bring it to dentistry to simplify your life. And I truly believe that the VR, it's something that we can use today already. And it's not just the future. It's like, it's like digital dentistry. Some people are saying digital dentistry is the future. I mean, that's not the future. It's the present. And I really, guys, advise you, those of you who are watching this podcast, go ahead and use it to simplify your life. I have a really nice phrase that people like to take a picture of on my slide. It says, work less, produce more, and enjoy life.
Yes, that is our mission.
This is something that we can actually do if we start using digital technology. And again, as Christian said previously, digital in our life is not something that we use one time to record a case for a lecture or something like this. In Ukraine, before the war started, in our training center, we were doing only live patient courses where we would show in 3 days from A to Z in front of the face of the participants how we are doing the smile makeover from A to Z, from planning to isolation and bonding, from the beginning to the end. So we can say that again, this is something that is possible to teach, replicate, and the workflow is repeatable. You don't have to be unique to make it work. Everybody can be successful with the digital tools.
I've got a question, Naz. I think we've talked about this before, especially with our group of friends and other colleagues that we're in. Talk to me a little bit about ethics in dentistry and maybe things that dentists are doing incorrectly that's non-ethical. We all see things about people going to certain countries and getting things done, or, dentistry is bad here, or they're prepping too much, or they're placing too many implants, or they're extracting too many teeth. Tell me about what your ideas are about ethics in dentistry.
First of all, I truly believe that the earth is round. So what I mean when I'm saying that is that even when you're doing perfect dentistry, like perfect according to the rules, that's what I mean, because there's no definition. Somebody likes this, somebody likes brunettes, somebody likes blondes, that's the point. But even if you're doing everything perfectly, even if you have a microscope, even if you have a great dental technician, even if you have all the digital tools on planet or whatever tools you like, failures happen. That is the fact. Whoever says something different, I think is not being honest.
Or they haven't done enough.
Yes. So what I like to say that the proper protocol allows us to reduce problems, but not completely eliminate them. Absence of protocol creates lots of problems. That's the point. So that should be a motivation to use proper protocol and proper tools. So why I'm saying that? I'm saying that because we all need to understand that when we are criticizing somebody else, there will be time when our 9 patients you will do perfectly, but patient number 10, something's going to happen and 100% that patient will go to a different office. So that's called karma. That's how it works. I mean, at least this is what I saw in my life. Okay. So that's why I'm trying to be very careful when we speak about criticizing anybody, because again, I would like, in my case, if something happens to my patient, I would like my colleague to say, hey, listen, things happen. Don't worry. Everything can be fixed, and this is normal. And this is how I'm trying to act in my case. Of course, there are some crazy things happening around the world when, I don't know, people need, let's say patient needs period treatments and surgeon goes ahead and extracts everything. Well, I'm not a judge for that person. It's, he takes the responsibility. Of course, this is not correct. But again, I'm always trying when I have a patient coming to my office who says, look, the case is done for me. It's so horrible. Look what dentist did for me. I'm trying to make the patient relax and I'm trying to explain that, listen, everything can be fixed. Maybe you can go back to your doctor discuss this with your doctor. So I'm never acting like, oh my God, who has done this for you? It looks horrible. So
I love this.
Speaking about ethics, I'm trying to be this way.
Did you always think like this, or is this the grown-up Daddy Nas version?
If I say that I always thought like this, it will not be the truth.
Okay.
Now when I'm analyzing my past, now 15 years of practice, when I was young, I was like super self-confident. I know everything. I do everything so nice. But then I understood that you can judge your results only after, 5-10 years.
Yeah.
Then you can say that, okay, I'm good, or maybe I'm still on the way, or maybe I'm bad, or something like this.
Yeah, that's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you're at the peak of Mount Stupid when you think you know everything. And then you fall really deep and you go, oh my gosh, I know nothing. I don't know what I'm talking about. And then you're on this slow slope of enlightenment for the rest of your career. I learned that from our friend, Eduardo Man, who we all know. I wanted to say a little story about what Naz was just talking about. I heard this story of a patient that came into a dentist and she had a retained root tip. And she came in saying, the dentist is such an idiot. He left this root tip in there, and now I've got to get it paid for again. Da, da, da. So the new dentist found out who the old dentist was, called the old dentist, says, hey, I've got Sally in the chair. The other dentist, the previous one, goes, oh my God, how is she doing? He's like, what do you mean? And he's like, I was extracting her tooth. It was an oral surgeon, by the way. I was extracting her tooth, and her blood pressure went crazy, like 250 over 170. And so we stopped the procedure because we told her to go to the hospital. So Isn't that funny how you can never judge the previous clinician unless you were in the room? And I have, like Naz, I was guilty of this early in my career until it started happening to me. Until I had that patient that was, squirming around or super difficult or had that crazy tongue or that buccinator muscle or that weird risorius muscle. You couldn't get to it and it's just not your best work. And they go somewhere else and the other dentist, says bad things about you. And I think once that's happened to you, you sit back and go, oh shit, okay, yeah, I get it now. And you start becoming on your colleague's side. Now, I think you can still say a fact. So the fact, what I like to do, because I talk about this in my mental health courses, is remove the previous dentist from the treatment. So the fact is, yes, there's recurrent decay. Or yes, you have periodontal disease, or yes, there's an open margin. What you don't say is the previous dentist did this poorly, and that's why there's an open margin, right? You can still say the fact.
It can be like in that joke, when the dentist is asking his patient, oh my God, who has done that horrible work for you? And he's like, well, that's you. I mean,
Naz, I want to double click on this ethics question because you and I had a really good conversation in New York a couple of weeks ago that I thought was really insightful, where we talked about how, well, first of all, in this podcast, something that we talk about here is just elevating dentistry, obviously, as a whole, is how do we elevate dentistry as a profession? It's something everyone here is so passionate about. And something you and I spoke about is the fact that you obviously lecture all over the world. And you were telling me that you find that there's a different level of ethics in the United States when it comes to doing procedures versus elsewhere. So I wanted to double click on that because I think it's really important for our listeners that we bring awareness. First step is awareness, as Kyle always says. So talk to us about that, what you've seen from an ethical perspective internationally in dentistry.
Oh, Ingrid, now I don't know why I told you that. I mean,
First step is awareness.
That's a tough corner.
Well, let's say like this. If we compare, because I was specifically telling you about my 2 training centers that I have, one in Kuala Lumpur, another one in Las Vegas. In Asia, people probably are more focused on becoming a successful dentist in clinical work rather than making a big income, right? I mean, I'm not going to open any secret or something like this because I think everybody here and also everybody who is watching, I mean, they mostly know this. In US, because education is so expensive, a lot of people after graduation, they are focusing on getting income as soon as possible. Okay, so this is why, at least what I heard from my colleagues in US, when there is a choice to make an onlay or to make a little restoration, I'm not saying everybody, but most of the colleagues are going to choose the inlay because it's more profitable. Okay, so everybody is more looking at the treatment through the prism of getting income, and I have nothing against it. I would say that the perfect formula is actually to combine 2 visions. First of all, for example, as in Asia or Europe, to become great clinician, And then, as in US, to be capable of selling your work for a good fee. And then this is honest. Because I think it's not honest to produce high quality work and to make coins. And it's not honest to do bad quality work, but to make big money. I just remembered one story that happened to me when actually I was lecturing first time in US. It was for Dental XP with Maurice Salama. And I showed one full mouth reconstruction. I was so excited to show all the microscope stuff. I mean, that was like, I was 27 or something like this, more than 10 years ago. And then there was this one person coming over to me, and I remember he asked me, "Hey, Dr. Nazariy, I mean, that was a nice presentation, really nice microscope and the other stuff. How much did you charge your patient?" And I was like super proud and I said, $15,000. He was like, "What?" Then he said the phrase I will never forget. And like he was joking, but he said, "For that money, I wouldn't even do a hygiene for that person," or something like this, you know?
What?
So and then I was like, I scratched my head. I was like, well, where did I take the wrong turn? Because like I'm trying to do good quality dentistry, but then on the other hand, now I realize that comparing to the US market, what like I'm charging in my office, that's like quite low. Even yesterday, I had a meeting yesterday, and I consider myself that we have good fees now in Ukraine, but still people here in LA, they ask me, why are you charging so little? I mean, is it because people in Ukraine don't have enough finances to cover the treatment? Even though I consider that I don't charge little. But again, for the US, the fee is different. So again, just to summarize my answer for your question, I think that people in Asia and Europe, they need to learn how to properly sell the cases. And you will not believe, but on the European Academy meeting, where we also, Christian was there as well, at the table, Italian dentists were asking me about marketing. Italian dentists. So, you know, it's like they're always only about, you know, precision. And by the way, they were huge inspiration for me in what I'm doing nowadays as a dentist. But even in Italy, now they are also looking for companies that are going to help them with the marketing. So even in Europe, they understood that marketing is important, and it doesn't matter if you're doing already great dentistry. So I think the truth is somewhere in between, okay? So you need to be a good clinician, but also as a good clinician, it's like European stuff, right? But also you need to know how to sell yourself properly. And this is what they know very well in the United States.
Yeah, I think you explained it really well. And just to expand on that a little more, I think people are happiest when they have a good balance of that too. Because you have dentists that are amazing, but they really struggle with the business side because they only focus on clinical. And then you have the opposite too, where dentists that are amazing at business don't have the clinical side, or, you know, they have so many people working for them, but they don't really know what they're going through. I think that the best dentists, owner dentists, really understand both sides for sure. I remember when I had it may have been the first time that I met you in person, Naz, when you came to LA, and we were having a discussion of fees. What do you charge? What do we charge? And I remember you saying like, "Oh my gosh, you charge that for those things? Like, I really need to up my fees."
I remember that day because here I see this white Porsche 911 coming over to me, and I'm like, okay, I need to ask this guy some questions. Someday I want to have that white 911 as well. Okay. So speaking about business, that's a good person to have a consulting.
I know. I just wanted to compliment that I'm having a more radical opinion about this topic in dentistry, where I know that we all try to be politically correct by saying, oh, in between, the balance between being a good clinician and doing good marketing. Honestly, that's bullshit. If you do zero marketing and you focus 100% on what is the best for the patient, you're a better dentist. And the more you put energy on marketing, even though I'm not judging and you can do whatever you want, the more you put energy on marketing, the more you're closer to being less ethical. As simple as that.
I disagree, Christian. Like, you think of my partner, Matt, he's a fucking phenomenal dentist, and he also puts a lot of effort into marketing.
But I have to tell you, imagine dentists like him not having to care about the profit and how many patients are coming in. And I know that some people have such a strong ethical, moral foundation that they will continuously do the right thing. But I can tell you, I have friends that are exactly like that. And because of the model that we have today, in certain specific tough moments, they end up doing what is the best for the business. They end up doing what is the best. You have always that gray zone.
I disagree. I think if you're charging enough, you don't do what's best for the business.
we need to divide, in my opinion, healthcare dentistry from cosmetic dentistry. If you make that division, you change completely and you solve all the problems. For me, cosmetic dentistry should be with plastic surgeon and hairdressers and whatever. And if you can go to a dentist knowing that that dentist is a cosmetic dentist and that they're going to try to push you to do as much cosmetics as possible with the intention of short-term benefits to look more beautiful tomorrow, and everybody's free to do that. But the ethical problem in dentistry is that we mix. We do cosmetic dentistry and we persuade our patients to believe that that is healthcare dentistry, and it's not. It's just not.
No, I agree with you on that.
You said something a couple episodes ago that really resonated with me. And I think I've said the phrase in my head like 100 times now, which is that it's about ethical patient onboarding. Because if all you do is educate that patient, a lot of people I just got back from a trip where my girlfriends all have veneers. It's what they wanted, right? It's what they wanted. They wanted the veneers. But going back to ethical patient onboarding, as long as they know their options, right? Like that's what it's all about. And that's what we're missing.
That's the problem, exactly, because the onboarding is a complete gray zone, because we persuade people to think that, oh, you're going to look better. And because you're going to look better, you're going to feel better. And because you're going to feel better, you're going to be healthier. And that is bullshit, right? If your goal is longevity, if your goal is health and longevity, dentistry should be focused on health and longevity and preservation and systemic impact, and aesthetics, purely cosmetic, should be just a little piece, and people should be very aware. I'm going to a cosmetic dentist. I don't care about my health. I'm here because I want to look better tomorrow, period. So it's very honest and transparent, and there's space for everybody. But for me in dentistry, people mix everything, and it's very hard to draw the ethical line.
I completely agree with you. Just want to add one little thing, so that we can use marketing for different purposes. So I completely agree with you when somebody is marketing things that are not good, just like you were discussing. But on another side, probably we would never be here with you on this podcast if I wasn't doing actually marketing of my work back in the days on Facebook.
I feel guilty. It's the mea culpa. I was one of the pioneers on this topic. And I'm just saying I'm moving 180 degrees.
I honestly saying I didn't even know that is marketing those days. I was just doing something that I felt is right. I was just sharing with the world what I was doing, and that's it. So I think if you are using marketing just to show what you are capable of in a good way, this is one thing. Because otherwise, only your mom and dad will know you're a good dentist. I mean, that's it, right? And of course, on the other hand, in social media, just like Christian said, we see a lot of stuff that is being pushed as not a good quality dentistry. But I think, Christian, by the way, because of that, we need to market even more. And I'll explain why. Because we need to fight with those approaches. Because if somebody has Instagram and, now people don't even go to the websites. I mean, they are getting information, what you're giving to them. That's the point. So if people start posting tomorrow that black teeth are fashionable, and and I'm watching this 3 months in a row and everybody is posting black is good, black is good, black is good, then the next time I will come to you or Kyle and I will say, I want to have black veneers because I saw on Instagram, this is right. What I'm trying to say, that's I think it's important to have also this, I would call it counter education. So they educate about one thing and we need still to educate how to do it right. Okay.
But the wrong marketing is to promote yourself. The right marketing is to educate about a profession, about a movement, right? You're not talking about yourself. You're talking about longevity, preservation, doing the right thing. So it's more an institutional message, right? And unfortunately, there are countries where dentists cannot do marketing at all. And I'm getting to the point that I'm agreeing that for the patient in general, that is the best.
I agree, but then I have one question, Christian, because I like that I see that we can do discussions here, like Kyle was discussing with you, and maybe I can ask some questions as well. That's more fun.
Of course.
But then we have another issue, because we are working with the guys in our lab, for example, Netherlands, Belgium. So in those countries, they have really restrictions, as you just said, about the marketing and their fees. So their fees are fixed. But then we are coming to another problem. When I'm telling them that they need to buy digital technology, and then they hear the prices to buy scanner, milling machine, the facial scanner module, let's say, then they scratch their head and they say, but we don't have money for that. We are charging just this amount. And then we have like a closed circle. people who actually would like to start doing digital, but to start doing digital, you need to invest at the beginning some finances in this. But in case if they are charging not big money because marketing is not allowed, they have full control of the pricing, then this is a little problem for them, how to switch.
What is the best model to the majority is what we need to discuss, because the 3% people at the top, they're going to always find the best dentists in any country. I think that policies, they need to be made to help the majority have better care.
Christian, you said something earlier that I want to circle back to. You mentioned that if someone wants longevity of their teeth, then they shouldn't be pursuing the cosmetic. Do you think that those are at odds with each other?
100%. 100%. It's like a plastic surgeon saying, I'm going to fix your nose, and because of that, you're going to have a better health. I'm going to put you some boobs.
But they could if they can't breathe through their nose well.
But to make it more beautiful, I'm going to make an elective procedure, right? To make you look more beautiful, and I'm going to pretend that people don't expect that from the plastic surgeon. I'm not saying medicine is perfect. It's far from perfect. But in terms of cosmetic, there is this very clear separation. If you go to a plastic surgeon, you don't expect that you're going to live longer. You just know you're going to look better maybe next week, period. That's it. So in dentistry, we mix things. And the same doctor is pretending that he's providing health and giving cosmetics. And they play with it, even unconsciously, and then convince people to do things. And cosmetics is the number one reason for increasing the death cycle of teeth. Number one. In communities that are too poor to get to cosmetic dentistry, they have better teeth than communities that have access to cosmetic dentistry. Cosmetic dentistry is unfortunately doing more harm than helping people when it comes to real health. Real health. The problem is that our society loves more beauty than real health. That's another problem, right?
Can you have both though? Can you have, like, if someone in their 30s got full mouth veneers, right? Like, is there a world where we can say we'll preserve the health of your teeth that are remaining until the day that you die?
Beauty should be a consequence of doing the right thing. Beauty should be a combination. If the fact that you are healthier, your skin is better, your posture is better, you're breathing better, things are in the right position. And yes, you can add some cosmetics. Everybody has the right to add some extra cosmetics, but as a secondary thing, not as the primary thing. That's my opinion.
That's a very nice position. And what I would like to add is that, like in my practice, because I'm always trying to take all the information I hear through prism of myself, right? Not by analyzing somebody else like any other dentist. I'm always thinking, okay, what you're saying, maybe, okay, if I'm doing that, okay, that's interesting for me. So I'm doing lots of full mouth reconstructions. I would say 90% of my cases are full mouth rehabs, and 10% that's a combination of ortho treatment and ceramic restorations. And of course, what we see in Instagram, because this is what we're posting, because we're selling usually beauty, right? I'm not explaining to my patient that I position the mandible in the CR position. I determine the hinge axis, and having the hinge axis, I raise the VDO. And then I created the proper occlusion, because after doing ortho for anybody who is over 30, you can never finalize ortho without microprosthetics. I mean, that's just impossible, because what's going to happen, people after a while, they will say that teeth again started moving. Why? Because there is already a wear. And if we don't add and we don't create the proper shape, we cannot have a stable result after that. And so it looks like, we're starting some case before and then full mouth of ceramics. And then people who don't know the really medical story and this workflow, they might think, okay, guys, this guy is making good buck on this patient. But then there is a reason, because again, many people who need ortho treatment first, they do the ortho and they stop. But orthodontist is only part of a team. It's not the person that can start and finish the treatment. Because again, if somebody is over 30, the shape of the teeth has already wear. If we are repositioning the teeth, we have to modify the shape of the occlusion, correct? So after finishing ortho, then you need to go ahead and deprogram the patient, make the new design, raise the vertical dimension of occlusion. So that's a big story. It's not just that everything is perfect and, patient comes and you say, hey, listen, let's just make 10 veneers. I have cases in Ukraine where the girls who are very young, like 20 years old, just because they are financially capable and they have, money, they come and they say, hey, listen, we saw your cases. We want 28 veneers, because they see it as another Cartier on their hand, but this time in their mouth. And quite often we refuse to those people and I say, hey, listen, come in 20 years. Then when you have indications, we can do it for you. And I think this would be some honest balance.
This is a great ethical line that people like you are being able to set. Besides the fact that you are working your ass off to be minimally invasive, you are like respecting every millimeter of enamel because of your skills and the microscope and so on. When we know that's not the case in 95% of the restorations that dentists are doing. So it's a complex topic. We may have to schedule another conversation. I brought this topic because I've been thinking a lot about it, and I'm not pointing fingers. I'm putting myself in the middle of all these criticisms because I'm in a moment that I'm redesigning the purpose of all my teaching and the concepts and the things that I want to spread. And I really think there's a new era in dentistry approaching, and we need to draw these ethical lines very strongly. And we need to differentiate the people that are in dentistry to make more money and the people that are in dentistry to treat patients and have a decent life, not becoming a millionaire.
I love the perspectives.
Is it okay to make good money if you're doing good work?
Of course.
Because there's a little like communist socialist feeling coming from what you're saying.
Yeah. No, dentistry is very generous. If you do good work, you're going to have a good life.
Because I think one of the things that I see, at least with my practice, is, and I'll give Matt as the example, Matt Najad, my partner, is he turns down a lot of cases. He does really minimally invasive stuff.
Fantastic.
And I think it's because he doesn't need the money, because he charges well for what he does.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So he entered a social vibe. He's like doing it the right way without caring about the money.
But there's also something that we aren't really talking about, which we talked about early on, which is that a lot of people don't have opportunities. Like Kyle, you put yourself there, right? But you put yourself in an incredible opportunity. Same with Christian, same with Naz. A lot of these, I'm thinking about these young dentists that are graduating from NYU, from UOP, over $500,000 of dentistry. They don't really have connections. Maybe they don't live in LA. They don't live in New York City. And so they're paying $5,000 to $8,000 a month of student debt. And they're trying to get a job when the median income for a dentist is like less than 120.
That's why I'm not blaming individuals. I'm saying the system is messed up.
The system, 100%.
Healthcare is messed up. And in US, even more.
Yeah, like atrociously so.
It's completely wrong.
Yeah, but does anybody actually say they have the best healthcare? Like, do you know anybody in any country that's like, our healthcare is great?
Yeah, exactly.
No. I mean, like, I know people in Finland and supposedly they have the best healthcare.
Spain is very, very good. Basic healthcare is very good and free, right? All the countries in the north of Europe have a very decent social healthcare that makes sense. It's not perfect, but it makes sense. You know, it's much closer to ideal.
Because like Americans love to say, oh, well, the Canadian healthcare is amazing. I talk to my Canadian friends, they're like, it is fucking terrible. No.
Because they are not Americans. Ask them, would you change to the American model? Oh, no. It's not that bad. Okay. Everybody likes to complain.
Yeah.
Everybody likes to complain. People here in Spain, they complain about taxes, oh, it's too high. I say, look what you have. It's about quality of living. It's the big picture that you need to look. So everybody likes to complain. I don't have the answers here, but I think that when it comes to healthcare, we need a different system. Dentistry should focus on healthcare first. Cosmetics should be a little piece of dentistry, the same way that plastic surgery is a little piece of medicine, right? And the medicine that is growing, and it should be the major medicine, is preventive medicine, regenerative medicine, longevity medicine. These are the doctors that were brave enough to bet on what really matters, right? And focus on generating good diagnosis, connecting the dots, expanding their vision, going beyond their specialty. And in dentistry, we are behind.
So how do we change that? How do we change our profession from being prevention focused from reactive focused to prevention focused?
First is admitting we are an execution profession. We are focused on treating symptoms, not really treating the real problem. We are becoming very commercial. We are giving too much value to marketing, social media, and before and afters. We are making dentistry become only that, right? We are not exploring the connections between dentistry and real well-being, health, systemic health. Very few dentists are pushing towards that. We need to focus on what really matters.
So first step is awareness.
First step is awareness.
What's the second step towards turning towards a prevention focus? Like for our listeners, right? Like there's a lot of dentists that want to be, most dentists I would say, want to be the best version of themselves. So what would be the next step, do you think, to getting towards the best form of dentistry?
Putting financials in a secondary position. If you pick healthcare profession, it needs to be like checking a box when you're 20 and you say, I'm going to be a physician, I'm going to be a dentist, I'm going to put my financial reward in a secondary position. Or don't pick it. Go do something else.
100%. Naz, what do you think?
I think that a lot depends on the country as well, because some countries, they have insurance. Let's say in Ukraine, we don't have any insurance at all. So this is why, I mean, Christian was in Ukraine a few times, and I'm sure he saw the clinics, and he will not let me lie that many of the clinics, they look amazing. Why? Because we have to fight for the patients. So basically, I mean, I can open a clinic, I can pack it up, I don't know, with $1 million technology and make it like the best clinic in the city. But then if I do not do the proper marketing, it will be just me sitting in that clinic and looking on the ceiling. Nobody's going to come because we don't have any insurance. And if I don't expose myself to patients, if I don't tell my story, if I don't try to separate myself from the others, then, I will not be able even to help them. Even speaking about just, ethically about their health, because they will just not come to my office.
The vicious cycle. We are in the vicious cycle. Yeah.
And what a shame that they wouldn't be able to go to Nas because he's so good, that they may go somewhere else that may over prep their teeth.
It wasn't like that. When my grandfather was a dentist, it was all about the patient. Everybody had a decent life as a dentist, and nobody was selling their soul to make more money, to open more locations, to create super fancy experiences, to hide the fact that we are not focusing on what matters.
Guys, recording this podcast, we're actually doing marketing.
Yes.
The podcast is the marketing, and the people who are watching us right now, I mean, a lot of them didn't know me just an hour ago. And now when they are watching this, even though it doesn't matter what topic we're discussing, but it's automatically marketing. And you already, by the way, marketed me when you said that they should follow me on Instagram. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. So what I'm trying to say is not that we're not discussing about something, because I think we have the same vision that the dentistry has to be ethical. And what I'm always saying, I want to do dentistry the way that I sleep well at night. So when I sleep well at night and I don't think that I ruined somebody's mouth or maybe I did something that I was not supposed to, then it's a good dentistry, right? But then I think that we should use marketing for good purposes and not to use for the things that you are saying are not good. I mean, so I think we're on the same side when we speak about this.
Well, listen, I know we're wrapping up towards the end of the podcast, and I want to just wrap up with a couple of really more lighthearted lightning round questions. Does that work for you, Daz? A little bit more on the light side than ethics. Are we ready to transition?
Yep.
Okay, Naz. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to ask you. One, what's the biggest thing that you wanted to change about your smile as a kid? I know that was something that was significant.
About my smile as a kid, honestly, nothing. It's what I want to change now, because I think you mixed me with someone else. But anyways, there was nothing. But now, because I'm parafunctional, and even though I'm 38, but I truly have indications now for the full mouth reconstruction myself, because I have quite aggressive wear. And yeah, this is where full mouth reconstruction can be useful for me today, sooner or later.
Oh, wow. Okay. Good to know. My second question for you. What's the most surprising celebrity dental transformation that you've seen?
The most surprising dental transformation that I've seen?
Celebrity dental.
Celebrity.
Oh, celebrity. Can I consider my wife as a celebrity?
Yeah.
In your house, she's a celebrity.
In my house, yeah, she is a celebrity. So that was one of the most important transformations in my life. Speaking about the celebrities, honestly, I don't even know. I know Mike has done plenty of patients, like Michael Appa. To be honest, I'm not really close to the celebrities, even though I was yesterday in this Beverly Hills office and they showed me the pictures with all these stars. And maybe I'm answering now, going to some different direction. Just want to say that in these moments, I'm like, wow, that's probably something that I would like to do someday in my life, to make a smile makeover for some famous people and not just, working in Ukraine. But anyway, so, I honestly cannot comment like what celebrities my makeover is the best for me, because I was not really paying attention to that.
Okay. Well, that's that then. My last question for you. I hear you accidentally flooded 8 floors of a hotel once in a congress in Miami. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. That's when I had almost a heart attack. I mean, that's funny today, but that was not funny that day. I mean, like,
Give us the story.
I'll just describe it really shortly. That was actually my first lecture for Dental XP, and I was staying on the 8th floor with my girlfriend those days, and she went shopping, and I was preparing my presentation. I turned on the water in the bath, and usually at home when I turn on the water, there is an overflow, and the water goes to the overflows, and I can go to the bath whatever time I want. And this time I was preparing my presentation, and after an hour I was like, okay, now I'm ready to go and take a bath. So I move my head, and the water is right here, like close to my chair. And I was like shocked because my whole room was floating with water. So first thing I did, I took some pictures because I knew in the end it was going to be fine. And then I started, just using lots of towels. I called for some help from the hotel. The guy came with a special machine that was like sucking the water. There was like 100 liters of water. Everything was floating. And then there was somebody knocking in the door, and I opened the door, and there was security. And I tell to the guys, hey, listen, relax. All is good. Something happened, but now we're fine with this. And they told me, listen, we understand, but you're on the 8th floor and the water is on the 1st floor. Also, water went to the main elevators. So we had to stop all the elevators and one escalator. And I'm like, he's like saying that, and I'm counting. Okay, I'm selling my house, my car, and I'm gonna work here like as a slave, like another 20 years or something, because 8 floors. And then I was like, okay, I need to quickly figure out what to do. And I'm like telling them, listen, I fell asleep. And if I didn't wake up, I could have died. Because your 5-star hotel doesn't have an overflow for the water. It's good I woke up. And then he said, okay, just put it on a paper. So I wrote it on a paper. I hope the hotel is not going to watch this podcast. And then I was like praying, hoping that everything is going to be fine. And then we have a friend, his name is Carlo Poggio. And he was also at this congress. And during the dinner, he said, hey, listen, there was a similar story in Chicago, and the guy had to pay $600,000. And I'm like, wow,
oh
man,
my God.
You are a true friend. Thank you for your support. I mean, but then, thank God, in the end of the story, Maurice told me that insurance agreed to cover everything. And then the next time when I came to lecture for them in Vegas, Maurice told me just one phrase, Nazariy, please don't take a bath anymore. I'm like, okay. So that was quite a story, yeah.
Well, Naz, I can speak for myself. This has been such a pleasure. I mean, I'm so lucky I get to do this podcast with Kyle and Christian every day. And these legends fill up my soul for, just being around people that are so passionate about our industry. And meeting with you, I was like, oh my God, we have another just like person that is just so passionate about making the best that we can do for this industry. So thank you again for coming onto our show. It took a turn that I was hoping it would turn. I was hoping it would take. So thank you for going there with us. Where can our listeners find you?
Thank you so much. And I would like just to say a few words. For me, days like this make me really happy person, because I realize that in life, everything is possible because people like Kyle, people like Christian, who were for me like, superstars that I could only read, the article from them or hear about them or see them on the stage. I remember I've been seeing Christian so many times on stage. And for me, he is a combination of few things. He is a combination of a good specialist. He's a very good speaker, and also he's a good human being. And I'm not just saying this, to look like I'm trying to kiss your ass or something like this. No, it's not like that. It's just because I truly think so. You are one of examples for me. I mean, the way how you communicate and the way how you position yourself. And, people were always asking me, how come being from the small city in Ukraine, I managed to reach some certain level, and I'm still, of course, on my way. And I said, as an example, I'm looking at people who are on the top. So Christian was actually one of those people who was on the top a while ago, and I was kind of comparing myself. I think there's nothing that I should be ashamed of. It's normal to compare yourself to people who are top, and because then right away you see where you still need to grow, what you need to improve, your clinical work, the way you present, the way you communicate. And you're doing that for so many years, and at the same time you're showing a good example of doing sports and the other stuff. And this is where actually I need to improve myself. I will need to do as well 1 year of sports and stuff like this. And again, speaking about Kyle, I know Kyle for a while now. I'm also, paying attention to what he's doing as a clinician as well as a businessman, because, doing just dentistry is very interesting, but it's also interesting to learn something new in life besides dentistry, because in that case, you can look at dentistry from the different angle, and then you can become even better in dentistry, knowing how to do business and other stuff in life. Okay. And Ingrid, I know you not for a long time, but I had a great impression of you as a very bright personality. Okay.
She's hard not to like.
Yeah, hard not to like.
You know how it say, you are very likable.
Mhm.
And in life, it's also important to be very likable, by the way. And because this is what I thought when I saw you the first time. Because when we meet our patients, I'm always telling to the dentist that there is, of course, we all know there is only one chance to have a first impression. And usually patients choose us not because we are minimally invasive, not because we are, doing full mouth reconstruction or not doing full mouth reconstruction. It's because either they like us as personality or they don't like us. Because I've never heard a patient telling to another patient, hey, listen, my dentist has a precision on the margin, 10 microns. Can you imagine that? Well,
Yeah, he does immediate dentist
never, right? Usually they would say that, hey, listen, my dentist is such a nice person. I like doing nice work. So this is the personality that usually our patients are falling in love with. So I really appreciate the fact that you guys invited me. For me, it means really a lot. And for me, it also means that I'm moving in the right direction. If for you, it's interesting to chat with me. And I will keep going, and I'm sure we can do more podcasts in the future. And I wish you good luck with your podcast, and I hope it grows and many people will be watching it. Thank you.
Tell us real quickly, websites, Instagram, how can they get a hold of you?
Okay, my Instagram is dr.nazarbm. NAZARBM. That's the Instagram where I post lots of clinical videos. And the website, I have my professional website, amvision.pro. This is the website for the training centers. So if you're in US, welcome to Las Vegas. If you are from another part of the planet, welcome to Kuala Lumpur.
Thank you, Naz. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you so much.
Amazing conclusion, my friend.
Thank you. That was super nice. Really enjoyed.
This has been amazing.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
This episode is brought to you by TwoFront, the only all-in-one platform for dentists to offer full-service Invisalign with no lab bills, CE courses, or additional chair time. Tired of dealing with Invisalign ClinChecks, refinements, bills, insurance, and compliance issues? With all the tools you need in one simple-to-use platform that you can manage from your phone, TwoFront makes it easy to grow the Invisalign arm of your practice without having to worry about insurance, closing the patient, having to do complex ClinChecks, manage patient compliance issues, and so much more. Simply add a TwoFront intake form into your check-in process to start signing up patients for unlimited complimentary evaluations by your TwoFront orthodontist and watch your practice grow from your dashboard. Get paid upfront by TwoFront and let your team at TwoFront handle the rest. Over 150 practices around the United States use TwoFront to grow their bottom line and offer patients the highest quality care with no extra chair time. Go to my2front.com to sign up for a demo and start offering the #1 service wanted by your patients today without the hassle. Experience the power of partnering with a full-service top orthodontic team with no overhead and grow your practice today.